The headlines in the South East today. Bullying, harassment and a culture of fear. How a report describes conditions at the largest hospital trust in Sussex.
Really important that staff feel able to speak up, because that's a safe organisation and one in which I would want to be able for every member to speak up so that we can make improvements.
No trains running at all today and limited services tomorrow. Commuters in the region face more travel misery due to fresh strikes.
And after this week's thunderstorms, a change for the weekend. It is set to be dry, sunny and warm.
Good afternoon. The NHS Trust that runs Brighton's main hospital has been downgraded and heavily criticised after whistleblowers prompted an inspection which found staff and patients were being let down by senior leaders. In a damning report, inspectors from the Care Quality Commission found that bullying and harassment was unaddressed, which pressurised staff into making unsafe decisions, with minority ethnic staff more likely to experience poorer outcomes than their white colleagues. Well, the Trust says it understands the challenges and has already made significant progress. Here's our health correspondent, Mark Norman.
It's not great timing. This £500 million hospital rebuild in Brighton will open its doors to patients in a few weeks' time. But just as the Trust should be celebrating, it will actually be dealing with the fallout from today's highly critical CQC report that talks about a culture of normalising safety concerns, a perception data was made to look better to avoid bad news, and a management style perceived as autocratic and bureaucratic. Leading that management team, the chief executive, in post for less than a year when inspectors visited the Trust.
It's disappointing to hear, what the CQC found. We've been working on that since I arrived. So month on month we're seeing improvements in the number of staff who feel able to speak up. We measure that through a pulse survey, and we've seen a significant improvement over the last 6 months. So we're now only a few percentages below the best performing organisation in the NHS.
The chief executive's challenges are many, but begin with convincing his staff and those who oversee the Trust that changes are both happening and happening quickly.
I am deeply concerned about the report. I think it is very serious. Having said that, I spoke with the chief executive yesterday and I sought his reassurance that urgent action would be taken. He explained that, in a sense, it wasn't a surprise to him because he'd commissioned his own external review shortly after taking on the post, and to that extent he knew what some of the problems were.
When it opens, the new hospital will make a significant difference to both patient care and the patient experience, and will also impact staff who get to work in one of the most modern hospital environments in the NHS. It's incumbent on the Trust management to make the most of that opportunity.
Well, Mark joins us now. So Mark, the hospital says it's already addressing the issues, but this is a really tough read, isn't it, if you're a patient or a member of staff at the Trust?
Yeah, make no mistake, is this a bad report? Absolutely, yes it is. Are the Trust management aware? Yes they are, and they're clearly trying to do something about it. But there are a number of issues with staff that are particularly worrying. Between staff and their senior staff and consultants, and then between senior staff and consultants and the management board, and that's been going on for some years. It needs addressing. George Fidley has an added responsibility. He was medical director there for many years before going to Medway and coming back as the boss. And then the merger is a problem as well. They're with Chichester and Worthing, for example. Hospitals doing extremely well, and staff there feel they're being dragged down by some of the problems at the Royal Sussex. Look, the CQC did highlight a number of positives going on, and that's a bit of context around that. But they've also told the NHS to step in and give it its highest level of support possible, because they want to see these changes at one of the country's largest trusts sorted out quickly.
Thank you very much for that, Mark. Now, the former MP for Gillingham and Rainham, Paul Clark, has been jailed for more than 2 years for possessing and distributing sexual images of children. The 66-year-old, who represented the Kent constituency for 10 years, was sentenced at Maidstone Crown Court. The father of two was told by the judge he'd committed a serious crime. Paul Clark's name has been added to the sex offenders list. The Archbishop of Canterbury has been convicted of speeding after being caught by a camera in London. Justin Welby was driving a Volkswagen Golf along the Albert Embankment towards Lambeth Palace over the 20 miles an hour limits. He was given 3 penalty points and fined £300 with a £120 victim surcharge. Now, rail passengers across the southeast are facing significant disruption today as the train drivers' union ASLEF takes industrial action. There are no trains running on South Eastern, Southern, Gatwick Express and Thameslink, with union members walking out in a long-running dispute over pay and conditions. Well, another strike is planned by the RMT union tomorrow, when just a fraction of normal services are expected to run. Its General Secretary Mick Lynch joins us now. So Mick, no trains today, which is due to strike action by the ASLEF union, but tomorrow many would say you taking industrial action tomorrow straight after that. That's just cruel. What would you say to many of our viewers who are going to be badly affected by this?
Well, we're sorry for the disruption and we don't want to have to cause that, but the fact is we've got no settlement. The reason we're going on strike tomorrow is it's the last day of the mandate that the government allows us under the anti-trade union laws. We have to give 14 days notice, and that's the last day of our mandate. We've had to ballot for a new mandate, so tomorrow was inevitable because we have not got proposals that our members can accept. Many of them haven't had a pay rise now for 4 years, and the offers we've got are conditional on them accepting changes to their terms and conditions, which are unpalatable. So we hope we can get a settlement. It's obvious that rail workers are still angry a year into this dispute, and they are keeping up their campaign, and we will take more action if it's needed, but we hope for a negotiated settlement soon.
Mick, the government says it's simply unfair on taxpayers, many who actually don't use trains, to keep subsidising a service which is being repeatedly affected by strikes. What do you say to that?
Well, they're not subsidising rail workers, they're subsidising rail companies that are taking profit out of the railway. So the rolling stock leasing companies make hundreds of millions of pounds a year in profit from government subsidy, which the ministers are happy with. So do the operators, and so do the subcontractors. So everybody's making a buck out of the railway, apart from the rail workers and the rail passengers. They're being ripped off by this corrupt system, and that's got to change. We need a new railway that works for the people. That includes the taxpayer, fair payer and the workers, and it's not happening at the moment, so we need a new system.
Aren't you frightened that public patience will just wear thin and people will turn their backs on the rail industry altogether, Mr Lynch?
Well, the passenger numbers are up. They've surpassed pre-COVID levels. It's a very busy railway, both on the suburban and intercity services, and we want to get back to work and provide that service. The public are with us and with many other people taking industrial action. That's been shown on the picket lines and in the opinion polls. So what we need to do is get a settlement, and we hope the government can facilitate that as soon as possible.
Mick Lynch, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Nina is here with the weather, and hopefully she has some long-awaited good news for us, Nina.
Yes, Kirstine, it feels like we certainly deserve an improvement in the weather after thunderstorms throughout much of this week. Cloudy, cold skies today. The weekend will bring us something different with high pressure. It's going to be dry, sunny and also feeling warmer. But before we get there, this afternoon keeps that thick cloud. I think the main area of rain will gradually clear to the west of us. It does keep rather damp and drizzly through the afternoon, and temperatures are a little below average. We've got highs this afternoon of around about 13 to 15 degrees. We keep that feed of cloud going through the night. There may still be the odd spot of rain, but for most of us, it is expected to be dry. So temperatures tomorrow morning, starting the day at around about 7 to 9 degrees. Whilst early, it may be a little overcast still. I think as we go through the morning quite quickly, that cloud will thin and break, and we'll see some long spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Fairly strong sunshine as well, with temperatures across inland areas reaching around about 20 degrees, a little cooler across the East Kent coast here at around 17. That high pressure just about holds on for Sunday, keeping things fine and dry, but the settled weather won't last, because by the time we get to Monday, we're back to low pressure weather fronts where it'll be cooler, cloudier with some showers. So enjoy the sunshine while it lasts this weekend. Kirstine.
Thanks, Nina. Well, that's all from me. Ellie will be back with all your evening news at 6:30. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye for now.